This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.
Hey love, I am here for your hopefully daily reminder that the Lulu is not the Salulu. Every time I hop on social media, I am astounded by not just in general the bad relationship advice that I see, but also the advice that in itself is not bad, but people take it to an entirely new level. And now, lately, what I've seen has been a lot of talk about bare minimum treatment. And I agree, you should not allow anyone in your life to give you the absolute bare minimum. Not just your romantic relationships. Like, yes, you shouldn't allow your husband or boyfriend or whatever to give you the bare minimum. But you also should not allow that from your friends or if you have close relationships with family members. I'm not talking about the relationships where like you just see them at family events or whatever because, you're family. But if you're actually close with a family member, you talk to them regularly, you should not accept bare minimum treatment from them either. That being said, the number of times that I have seen a woman post something on social media about her man taking her on a nice date, doing things that they like to do, and other women in the comments being like, oh, that's the bare minimum, you should expect more, is ridiculous. And, an example of that is, so yes, my husband takes me out to nice restaurants, but at the same time, he and I both happen to like Olive Garden. And it is a running joke because of the fact that, I do like nice things. And I have been to Italy more than once, actually. And yet, I still like Olive Garden. So we go from time to time. And, this one wasn't even a social media thing. I mentioned to one of my friends that my husband and I went to Olive Garden, and this friend who is single, no shade, but yes, made a comment like, oh, you guys went to Olive Garden as for like date night? Shouldn't he have taken you someplace nicer? Why would he go cheap like that? And I responded honestly with, it is a restaurant we both like. Yes, I know it's not the fanciest. I know that there are much nicer places to go, especially, when you live in a city, you have plenty of options, but it is a place that we like to eat. So that's why we went. And I'm saying this because there is one piece of relationship advice in particular that I think women are hearing it and seriously misconstruing it. So that is what I want to talk about. Welcome to Confidently Cherished. My name is Keshia Rice. I am a dating coach and hypnotherapist. I help women learn how to heal from their unhealthy relationship patterns and, gain the confidence, gain the self-love, set the boundaries that they need in order to attract healthy, loving, cherished relationships. This piece of dating advice that I want to talk about is, if he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to, he would. I have seen that all over the place. And especially lately in the comment section, whenever a woman posts some romantic gesture that her husband or her boyfriend has done for her, one of those my man posts, the comment section is full of women commenting back, if he wanted to, he would. And I agree with that to an extent. Here's the nuance that doesn't play very well on social media, which is why this is a podcast episode and not a TikTok video. Because if I had to say this on TikTok, it, again, probably would not do very well. But if he wanted to, he would. It means that if he wanted to, he would put in effort. He would do the work. He would show his commitment to you through what he says and what he does. Here's what if he wanted to, he would does not mean. It does not mean that he will magically be as communicative as you'd like him to be. It does not mean that he will magically read your mind. It also does not mean that he will just magically know the right thing to do, the great romantic gesture to give, all of that. And this is what I see so often with the women who come to me and work with me in my Confidently Cherished coaching program is oftentimes they will, we'll work together for a little while. They'll end up meeting someone and start dating him. And they'll tell me, well, there's no huge problem in the relationship. But at the same time, I really wish he would do more of this or say more of this. Or, I saw this video on Instagram or TikTok where the woman's boyfriend did this thing. And I just wish my husband or my boyfriend could be more like that. And whenever I hear this, I always ask, well, did you talk to him about it? Did you express to him that you would like these things done or you appreciate these types of relationships? And sometimes, the answer will be yes, we had these discussions. And then it's a matter of, okay, is this something where we need to work on how we communicate that, what tone we take and all that? Or are you with someone who seemed to be a good partner to begin with, but maybe they were just on their best behavior at the beginning and now you're meeting the real them and this is not someone who's willing to put in the work, in which case you need to think about leaving this relationship? But oftentimes, more often than not, actually, it is a matter of, no, I never told him that that's what I would like, because if he wanted to, he would. And yeah, I agree that if he wanted to, he would. But he also has to know the thing in order for him to want to do it. What a lot of these influencers on social media are not telling you is that before the man wanted to and would, before he did those things, she talked to him about what kinds of things she likes, what makes her happy, how she likes to be loved. She set some clear expectations for how she expects to be treated in the relationship. I can think of a prime example of that would be my engagement ring. So my engagement ring is 3 stones and there's a diamond in the middle, and then on either side is my husband's birthstone and then my birthstone. So, it is true when I tell people that my husband designed that ring himself. And whenever I say that, people are always like, oh, that's so sweet. Again, if he wanted to, he would. And yes, my husband wanted to, and he did. At the same time, my husband came up with that idea for that design because I had specifically mentioned to him before that I liked 3 stone rings. When I said it, I was thinking, the 3 diamonds as the 3 stones, because that's what I had seen before. And, I love the symbolism. My husband knows that growing up, English was my favorite subject. I am a big literature nerd. I love to read, and I am really big on symbolism. When he and I started dating, he would buy me flowers all the time. And he still does. The difference is also another example of if he wanted to, he would. When my husband and I started dating, he would just give me flowers because he thought that bouquet was pretty or whatever. Now he knows to pay attention to exactly what flowers are in the bouquet because I am big on symbolism. And again, when we started dating and he would give me flowers, I'd ask him why he picked out those specific flowers. And he'd just be like, oh, well, I thought that was a pretty color or whatever. And I would go on and on about, well, no, like this flower symbolizes this and this flower symbolizes that. If he got me roses, I would go into a whole thing about the different colors of roses and what each color symbolizes. So now he knows that if he buys me flowers, I am going to be analyzing the heck out of what each flower symbolizes. So back to my engagement ring, the 3 stones symbolize past, present, and future. So when my husband made the decision to give me a 3-stone ring and to make 2 of the stones our birthstones, he talked about it being past, present, and future. And also, our 2 stones on either side with a diamond in the middle was also 2 becoming 1. Again, very romantic of him. But also, again, one of the reasons why it was so romantic of him was because I had talked to him about how big symbolism was to me, and he knew that. So he made sure that my ring wasn't just a pretty ring, it was a symbolic ring, right? So back to this idea of, seeing these romantic gestures online and wanting that for yourself in a relationship, or seeing a couple who seems to communicate very well and wanting that in your relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I want that for you. I want you to be loved in a way that is so clear that you don't question whether or not you're loved. I want you to have all the romance that you could hope for. I want you to know and understand how it feels to be deeply cared for. But people are not mind readers. And even though there are some things that are universal, like everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants to be treated with kindness and respect, all those things, what one person sees as respect might be very different from what another person sees. And most definitely, the way in which one person wants to be loved differs from person to person. When you see couples and you say that their communication is on point and you admire the way they discuss things with each other, people have different communication styles. A lot of being in a relationship is, one, knowing your own communication style so that you can explain that to your partner, but also learning and understanding their communication style so that sometimes when it seems like things just aren't getting through to their head, you can take a step back and be like, hey, okay, I'm communicating to them the way that I like to be communicated to. This may not work for them, and I need to explain how I'm feeling in a way that they can understand, right? So this whole idea of if he wanted to, he would, is a good start for relationships, but it would be a lot more accurate to say if he wanted to, he would effort. He would take the time to learn you. He would take the time to understand you. He would respect your boundaries. He would show interest. He would do his best to translate things in a way that you can feel the love, that you can see that he's put in the time and the commitment to get to know you and understand you. And when that is the case, you receive the love that you want. You receive the love in the way that you want it. But know that it doesn't happen by magic. It's not just a matter of, you meet the right person and boom, all of a sudden everything is a fairy tale ending. You will have to communicate with that person what your boundaries are, what your standards are, what you see as respect and disrespect, what you see as love, what is important to you when it comes to communication. And then you have to add in the fact that if you are going to end up marrying this person, people change over time. We all change. We all hopefully grow. But we definitely change over time. Change is inevitable. And because of that, even things that may have worked in year 1 of the relationship may no longer work in year 5, year 10. And that's okay. That's natural. But it also means that if you find yourself growing and changing over the course of the relationship, you will have to communicate that with your partner, because they may get in a situation where they started out trying their best to love you, and it wasn't how you received love. So you took the time to explain those things to them, and they said, okay. And they adapted because they truly cared about you. But then you change, and they're still loving you and showing love to the previous version of you, that version of you that no longer exists. So now you still have to continuously communicate what it is that you need in the relationship in order for them to keep up and be able to love the current version of you. So understanding that is knowing that it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean the relationship is doomed if you find yourself at a point where the two of you are mismatched. It just means that you have to have that conversation again. And I personally think, my husband and I just celebrated our wedding anniversary. And when I think back over the time that we've been together, dating and married, it's exciting to me to see the changes, to see how I've grown, to see how he's grown, to see how we've changed, and to navigate that together. And seeing the number of times that we've navigated that together, it makes me excited for the future, knowing that as we grow and change, for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that each time we'll be able to figure it out and adapt again. So again, it's not if he wanted to, he would. It's if he wanted to, he would effort. And if the person that you're with is not willing to make the effort, then that is a sign that they're not as invested as you'd like them to be. And maybe you should consider finding another relationship with someone who will effort. So I hope that this allows you to take a step back from some of the things that we see on social media and to realize that while these happy relationships that you see online, I'm not saying they're fake. Oftentimes they are real. But at the same time, the results that you see are the product of work, communication, setting boundaries, having those talks, and two people who are committed to putting in the work. And as always, if you are looking to put in that work to heal and become the best woman that you can be so that you can attract the best relationship for you, then I am open to working with you. You can DM me. I'm on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube at Keshia Rice, KESHIA RICE. And you can also message me and let me know what you think about this episode. I will talk to you soon. Love you very much. Bye. Hey there. So you made it all the way to the end of the episode, which means I have two things to say. One, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And two, you like me. You really like me. So I would appreciate it if you would show that like by subscribing to this podcast so that more people can hear about it and enjoy it as much as you do. And if you want to know more about any of the links that I mentioned on this episode or any guests that I've had, be sure to go to KeshiaRice.com/links. That's KESHIARICE.com/links. I can't wait to talk to you again in the next episode. So see you then.